Hello, my friends. Katie Day with the MOVEMETOX Team. What's going on, y'all? Another episode of the MOVEMETOX podcast. I say another like we've been doing these regularly. It's been a minute. So welcome back if you're listening, if anyone's listening out there. Joined today by Andrea Sanchez.
Hi.
Real estate agent with the MOVEMETOX Team, and Paige Bowman.
What up?
Loan officer with the Mortgage Collective. What is going on, y'all?
Nothing much. Getting ready for Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm about to go to HEB after this call and
Don't do it.
Stores.
Don't do it.
I regretfully have to.
That is scary. All right, so let's just hop right in here. Thanksgiving's coming, whatever, we get it. Let's dig in to some of this stuff. So the first thing that I wanted to kind of bring up was the numbers here for Houston and what's going on out in the greater Houston area. So this is the monthly press release that comes out from the Houston Association of Realtors. The headline, Houston home sales coolest, interest rates climb in October. Paige, care to chime in on interest rates?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously rates are up. People reach out to me like, what are rates doing? And I'm like, well, they're still up. The good news is the market's kind of leveling out a little bit. We're seeing some positive trend days. We had a huge rebound to the consumer price index coming out saying that. So that really helped interest rates. So most people are locking in sub 7%, which I know sounds kind of funny to say, but it's a good thing because we were over 7% for over a month. So it's nice that we're, in the mid sixes, mid to high sixes now.
Well, and so one of the things that we were talking about earlier today that you just pinged me about with your company is that you guys now offer a rate lock prior to having a contract, right?
Yes.
So what does that look like?
Yeah. So
lock and shop.
Lock and shop.
Make a song out of that.
Honestly, yes. So you lock into an interest rate for 90 days, have the opportunity to shop for homes during that time frame. But that means that your rate won't go any higher and you know exactly what your interest rate is whenever you start shopping. So there's no surprises whenever it comes to, buying a home.
Getting under contract.
Right, exactly. You're not like, oh, my rate was 6.5% and now it's 7.25%. Never mind. We're no longer going to go shopping with Andrea anymore.
Well, and so I guess my question would be is in a situation like that, if we lock in at 6 and change, whatever that looks like, right? I don't want to, toss out an exact number out there. And then rates dropped again. Say something comes out in the financial world that is great for markets and this and that. And rates then go down to 6%, even flat.
Right.
Can I then go lower or am I stuck at 6.5 or 6.75 or whatever that may be?
So the answer is no and yes.
It depends.
It really does depend, right? If your rate drops 0.125%, most companies are not going to float you down, right?
Okay.
But if it is a more drastic rate drop, then you are going to see a float down. So It really just kind of depends on what the market's doing. We'll see another CPI come out in December. So I'll be interested to see what that says. So that could continue. We could continue to see interest rates improve for sure.
And so the moral of the story, I think, is it at least gives you some peace of mind to be able to say, okay, I know that this is where my rate is. If things go up, then I'm safe. If things go down significantly, then we can talk about what that looks like and if I can go down at a later date.
For sure, 100%.
What it comes down to. Okay.
Yep.
No, that's awesome. I know that a lot of lenders offer that. So really excited that you guys have that tool in your tool belt. All right. So I'm going to get this pulled back up. This is the, again, Houston Association of Realtors press release. It comes out on a monthly basis around the middle of the month for the previous month. So, I mean, we're now at the 22nd of November. So, November's report will come out here in a couple of weeks. But basically, a couple of highlights on here. October marked the 7th consecutive month of declining sales and rising inventory. The market continues to move toward a more normalized pre-pandemic pace. That's something I think that's important to point out, right? Because Andrea, you've been in real estate, for more than 2 years, right? And it's that 2019 and previous is kind of, what we're looking at now as to how quickly properties are moving, how long it's taking for them to sell and things like that. Any thoughts or insight there?
things are slowing down. I mean, that's what it is. A lot of consumers are just nervous. They're waiting to see, rates go down again. Are they going to is that going to happen? Maybe, but I don't think it's going to hit, where it was 2021, 2020.
That's not
going to happen. But I mean, just focus on where we're at now. That's all I've got to say about that.
Yeah, for sure. No, I would agree there. So, when we're looking at this, we are slightly trailing last year's numbers by about 6.7% as far as the total volume on the market. When we're looking at the median and average home prices, those are still going up, right? So the average home price is currently sitting at $403,000, which is 2.67% less than last month. Last month we were at $414,000, but that's still up 6.87% from January. So from January to October, we're still, seeing kind of that net positive appreciation, as far as that average home price here in Houston. When we're looking at inventory, there's about a month's more worth of inventory on the market, which basically means that, if no more homes came on the market, homes continue to sell at the pace they were selling, we would run out of homes right now in 2.8 months. And last
year,
which
is still great.
Oh yeah,
which is still a really good market, and I think people forget about that. I mean, interest rates, a normal interest rate is somewhere between 5.5% to 6%. So
yeah,
I think people are so stuck in 2020 and 2020. Like, I don't want to have a high interest rate. I'm like, well, your rate's going to be 6.49, and so if you would have closed in 2019, your rate would have been 5.99. So your rate isn't actually that much higher than pre-pandemic rates.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the most recent memory that everyone has is the past 2 years and having that 3% interest rate, and for some people sub 3. If you currently own a home and you're watching this either live or on the replay, drop in the comments if you own a home what your interest rate is. I would just be curious to know. I think even here in Houston, we're sitting at 2.8 months of inventory. Nationally, we're at 3.2 months. And it even says in here 6-month supply is considered balanced, right? Which neither buyer or seller has the advantage. So technically, by the numbers, we're still in a seller's market. But I mean, one of the things that I feel like we've seen a lot of is that buyers have opportunity to take a little bit longer to find a home, right? If you see it today, you should put in an offer in pretty quickly, but we're not seeing as many multiple offers. It's giving the opportunity for potential seller concessions, for rate buy downs, for credits to closing costs and stuff like that. So, there's still a lot of opportunity for buyers. We are still sometimes seeing multiple offers. It's just definitely not as frequent as we were seeing last year. I mean, last year it was like every property had multiple offers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
All right. So that was the monthly market update. That there wasn't a ton more on there that I found to be compelling. One thing that I did find to be interesting though is that all segments in October had a decrease in sales volume, right? I think, if you're looking at 250K or less, it's due to just not having homes available. But up here, when we're looking at 250 to 500, 500 to a million, and a million and more, those also decreased, which we haven't seen in the past.
Right.
Previous months we were seeing that those continue to increase, and then it's taking a little bit longer to sell homes. So it went from 32 to 43 days. So if you're putting your home on the market in most neighborhoods as an average, it's going to take a little bit longer. But obviously, depending on where you live and things like that, could be a little bit shorter or a little bit longer.
Okay.
Real estate is local. All right. So a report came out by the Urban Land Institute and PricewaterhouseCoopers about Houston ranking higher among best real estate markets for investors, but still trails Dallas and Austin.
Womp, womp, womp. Houston is still the superior city, though. So
look at that skyline. Look at that pretty skyline.
Beautiful.
From
look at that full moon. It's great.
But anyways, so they came out with this report. It's an annual report by the Urban Land Institute, as well as Pricewaterhouse. They surveyed real estate experts and professionals about expectations and their overall sentiments about specific markets. And Dallas led Texas with number 2. Nashville was number 1, Atlanta number 3, Austin 4, and San Antonio 12. Houston was 14th, but that's way up. 2 years ago, we were at 52, and then we were at 24 last year.
That's a big jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so like improvement. Clearly, I would like to see us, in that top list. But I mean, if we're 14, San Antonio is 12, Austin, is 4, and Dallas is number 2. I mean, I think honestly, like more companies are moving to Dallas than Houston, just based on like the headlines I see. I know tons of companies are moving to Texas in general. Austin, with softening prices over the past 6 months, I think is looking better for investors than it did over the past 2 years.
Yes.
And San Antonio, I'm pretty high on San Antonio just from, military, Austin overflow, and prices are generally lower. I mean, I don't know. Those are just kind of my generalized thoughts.
But who has the better breakfast tacos?
Houston.
Yeah. So honestly, we win still.
Austin does have pretty good tacos. I'm not gonna knock them. So I mean, I would say if you're ranking breakfast tacos, like I would say Houston, Austin, San Antonio, Dallas.
Yes. Andrea, do you agree?
Not at all.
What's your ranking?
Okay. Houston, San Antonio, then Austin, then Dallas.
Okay.
Paige? I'm agreeing with you. Although San Antonio has good non-breakfast tacos, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
Houston, investors are taking a more positive view of the Houston home building market. We ranked 8th on their list of home building, right? San Antonio was number 1, Austin 4, Dallas Fort Worth was 6. Let's see what else. So yeah, they said that elevated oil prices obviously had a thought here, as well as people moving here, strong population and job growth. Obviously that's attracting everyone to the South in general. And it's an affordable market. I think part of the problem too, as far as like looking at things from an investment standpoint, is just that it's difficult to find investment properties if you're doing a loan. Paige, what are your thoughts there?
I mean, yeah, we had this conversation this weekend.
Yeah.
It's hard finding something with a 7% interest rate or 7.5% interest rate, even putting 20, 25, 30% down that cash flows. I mean, so it's obviously what's the return, and you have to look at the long game to know that, if you keep that home for 5 to 10 years, you probably can refinance it in a couple of years. Right. And then you've got to look at the appreciation. So kind of how does all of that divide out into, but for the most part, instant cash flow just isn't there. It's very rare for sure. Unless you're doing short-term rental, obviously.
Well, and I don't know about you, Andrea and Paige, like what your thoughts are on this, but like, I mean, I was telling investors this back in 2018 and 2019, like as far as cash flow and appreciation and things like that. And that was at, a 4 or 5% interest rate, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe 6, not 7 or 8 as an investor, because investor rates are generally going to be a little bit higher than that normal standard, rate. So, obviously as rates increase, like that's just something that, a lot of people are waiting and seeing if prices drop more, what happens there, and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely makes sense right now for you to be buying a primary residence, duplex, triplex, quadplex, renting out the other sides, holding on to it for 1 to 2 years, and then buying your next house for sure. Leveraging yourself that way.
Yeah.
What's the term for that again?
I don't know. House hacking. Isn't that what it's called? I'm like, something.
I was like, this quiz here that Andrea's got. I don't know what we're trying to say here. House hacking. Yeah, got it.
Noted.
So the next article I've got is from The Real Deal. They've now started to cover Texas as well, but it was originally published in the Houston Chronicle, and basically it's talking about that most Houstonians can't afford to buy a home. And Jennifer Wahab there. What's up, Jennifer? Out in Katy. Hope you're well. Basically, a report from HAR said that in the third quarter, about 41% of Houston households made enough to buy a house. It's an improvement from last quarter, but last year, 53% of people could afford to buy a home, right? And so that's looking at basically, the median home price. It's looking at what people's income is. It's looking at the amount of renters. The median sales price was $350 basically. So they would need $90K in order to buy a house, which is up from $62K last year. You know, none of this is news to y'all, but Aldine was the most affordable place to buy in Harris County. The least affordable places were Memorial Villages and West U, where only 3% of households in Harris County could afford to buy that median price home, because the minimum household income would be $480,000.
Even then, I'm just gonna say it. I don't think $480,000 is buying you a home in West U, but you know, who am I to say?
So I think that would be like the median priced home, and you have to think that like you've got lot value at like $1 million or less, and then you have the actual
like
homes.
The homes that I like in West U.
I can't afford it.
$480,000 is not getting me that home.
Well, and so this is something that we talk about a lot, is affordability, right? And so if the median, or sorry, if the average price right now is sitting at $403,000, right, and the median price is sitting in Q3 of this year is sitting at $350,000, like, I'm not really sure what's going to happen as far as affordability goes, right? So I mean, is that like people buying smaller homes or builders building smaller homes? Is that duplexes? Like, I don't know that there's a solution to that necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is something that I talk about a lot, because I think the word affordable housing is because I think whenever you talk about affordable housing, people think about just maybe rundown, disrepair. Whenever I'm talking about affordable housing, I'm meaning homes that are under $250,000 that aren't in disrepair and rundown, and that just doesn't exist. And I think that we're doing a disservice to just our population in general. I mean, you look at what's happening in Los Angeles and New York City and Seattle and Portland. I think there's something that needs to be done about it. I just don't know who is going to be the one to do something about it.
I think this brings up, though, consumers finding solutions, because I speak with a lot of people now who are wanting to co-apply for the loans. You've got families, multi-generational families. They know what they want, but they're bringing in, parents to come into the loan, or children, or, relatives, just that multi-generational living. So I'm wondering if that's going to also bring in that type of inventory to the Houston area. We've got some of them, but
Yeah. And whenever I talk to people, that's one of the questions I ask. Will anybody be occupying the home with you? And if they're like, oh yeah, well, my dad or my mom. And I'm like, well, there's a ton of benefits for you having a parent on the loan. You could, if they're over 65, you get an over 65 exemption, which helps bring down your property taxes. And what if it gives you the opportunity to apply for more? Because are they going to be giving you $500, $700, $1,000 a month for your house? Well, then why don't we stack that on top of your income, and then you can qualify for more? So it's just all about creative. I think people are going to have to be more creative with their finances.
I think that's also something that I appreciate that that's something that you do, as far as, that consultation and having that conversation with clients, right? And understanding who's going to be living in the home, what can we do, where's the income coming from? And that's, we've had a lot of clients that go online and just apply online and don't talk to anyone. They come to us with a pre-qualification letter, and we're like, hey, like, this is fine to put in an offer, but like, we need to have a conversation with Paige or with someone on her team to ensure that like you can actually get this. Cause like, you just put in a bunch of numbers and they give you back a number that you can afford. That's not always the case.
Yeah, for sure. I had that conversation today.
Add an extra zero there, here, there, somewhere.
Add a 1 or a 0 somewhere. It'll all work out.
It'll all even out. Yeah.
All right. So a couple of local things that came out this week that I thought were pretty cool. One of them being the Woodlands Mall undergoing a $100 million expansion to add hotels and an open air retail section. What do we think about this?
Where is it going to go?
Well, look at these renderings. Don't they look great? A prime coffee place. I always love the names that they choose for different things, in renderings. They're like super great coffee.
I see Macy's in the back though.
So
it said snack court.
Snack club.
Snack club. I'm so sorry.
All right. So basically this is the site plan. And this is what they're going to be developing down here in the corner. I've only been to the Woodlands Mall a few times. Let me unclick this to go back to the article. So basically, they met with the Woodlands Township and the Economic Development Zone. They grant a portion of the. Okay, that's not really. So it's basically adjacent to the Macy's on the southwest corner of the mall, which is currently being used as a parking lot.
Oh,
Have you tried to park at the Woodlands Mall recently?
Well, I assume let's calm down as we continue to read through the article. So the plan is to build an open-air mixed-use commercial center with at least 80,000 square feet of retail, a 200-room full-service hotel, a 125-room select service hotel, a multi-level parking garage with at least 1,200 spots, as well as surface parking and other improvements. It mentions, Hyatt, Marriott, Hilton, potential for Holiday Inn, DoubleTree, and Comfort Inn. So phase 1 would be 45,000 square feet.
Hostels. Said motel. Hostels.
It excludes establishments. Paige, just stop. Just listen. Stop reading. The first phase includes 45,000 square feet of retail space and one or both of the hotels, which would be completed by 2028, and then phase 2 by the end of 2020 or 2033.
Wow.
That's obviously parking everywhere at every retail establishment sucks. Can we just agree on that?
Yes. If valet is available, do you know what I'm doing?
I'm fully aware that is what you're doing.
Valet.
What's really funny, a funny story about that and valet parking with Paige is, so Paige, sometimes when we travel together, is a great friend to me, and she'll pick me up because I'm kind of technically on her way as we go up to Bush to fly out for flights. Kind of technically. I'm not really, but she's kind to me, and then I'll buy her like a $17 bottle of water or something at the airport. And so Triton agrees. She's very kind. And so Paige picks me up most of the time, but the other day my husband and I went on a trip together, and he decided to drive because he thought it would make more sense based on the time that we're going to be gone and cost of an Uber and this and that and whatever. So we drove, and he's like, well, where do I park? And so we parked in the garage, but we self-parked. And I had no idea where we were. And he was like, doesn't she drive here and park? And don't y'all normally do this? I was like, we've only valeted. I'm like, do you want to drive back down to 2 and we can valet? And then just
level 4.
I also don't pay attention, clearly. Just drive down to the other floor and like, let's just park there and whatever. And he was like, no, I don't want to do that. But so we got into an argument over figuring out parking. But anyways, I think this is cool. I mean, I think obviously like adding an additional 1,200 spots is a good plan. I like the Woodlands area and the mall area because it's close-ish to Cynthia Mitchell Woods Pavilion. It's close to like I don't want to call it town center, but what do they call it? The Waterway.
The Waterway.
Yeah.
And all that. So it's just going to add more reason for people, like say in Houston, to go do a staycation up there and go to a concert and then stay up there for the weekend. It's going to, add more tourism for people that are visiting the Houston area. I mean, what are y'all's thoughts?
I also like the Conroe area too. Like people that
want
to go out to the lake for the day, come back to the Woodlands, go have dinner. They're going to be right there.
Yeah, that is nice. I was at the Woodlands Mall this past weekend, and I was, enjoyed my time there. It was great. Went to the restaurant, walked around a little bit, did some shopping, picked up my car from valet. It was good.
And imagine if you had, a snack club to stop by on your way out,
Or great coffee.
Or prime
coffee.
Prime coffee. And then I love how they do have Barnes and Noble. Like that may actually be a store that exists. But P.F. Chang's is one of my favorite restaurants.
Really?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's one of those like classic comfort food. Like it's the same everywhere.
You're not wrong.
I've had P.F. Chang's one time in my life, and that was like 3 weeks ago.
What?
It wasn't with me? What the hell?
I didn't know. Next time. Yeah, I've never had P.F. Chang's before.
Well, this is cool. It's a long time out. But I think this is a good improvement for the North Houston, Montgomery County area.
For sure.
All right. One last local thing to share is exclusive. Came out earlier this week. It's not really that exclusive anymore, but came out earlier this week. New 17-acre East End project aims to make cars obsolete with walkable micro living. Just based on the headline, what are y'all's thoughts?
Not going to happen.
Andrea, forever an optimist.
I love it.
Thank you, Paige.
You're welcome. I love it. I think that it is wonderful.
So this article is actually pretty long. Basically, a real estate firm called Concept Neighborhood is looking to create this kind of walkable area in East Downtown. So you've got Harrisburg down here on the left. I'm not sharing my right screen here. You got Harrisburg down here on the left. You've got navigation up here. So it's basically, you know, this area here where you have the buildings that are really bright, right?
Yeah.
I think this would be huge for the East End.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, obviously there are so many things that play a part in this, as far as, you know, they don't own all of the land, as far as, you know, there's other homeowners in here, but like, I really love the idea of the walkable spaces. And East Downtown proper, like Edo, is very walkable, right? And as you get further east, it's not, right? And so I think that would be pretty big there.
Yeah, I love it. I think it'll be great. It'll be an added, you know, people like the Heights because it's walkable depending on where you live, right? And you can, you know, walk places, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that will add an extra, you know, layer of people wanting to move to Edo.
Yeah. Well, and so this is like Roberts Row, which is Roberts and Commerce Street. And it's like going to be, you know, shops and businesses, you know, with mixed use projects and things like that, which, I mean, is what East Downtown is kind of known for, right? At this point, you know, closer to 45 and 59. So yeah, I mean, I like the idea. It'll be interesting to see the execution. It's not far from East River. So that's another, you know, mixed use development project that, you know, is going to really impact the walkability of that area. And so I think on a long-term scale, it's a huge play for people that own homes in 5th Ward, in 2nd Ward, in East Downtown, and kind of all that area.
Definitely. And for the homeowners that currently own their homes there, would be a huge probably pickup in value. So
yeah, but like, I mean, long term, right? Like, I mean,
yeah.
East River project's a 30-year project, you know.
Yes.
We just brought up the Woodlands, you know, project that's like
2033.
So it's probably 2040. So, you know, I think that I am excited for it, you know, but obviously, like, that's not going to put a jump on your property value today if you live in East Downtown.
Yeah. Not at all.
Yeah. All right. Interest rates we talked about. Locking interest rates we talked about. What else is happening in the mortgage world? Anything that we need to know?
No, I mean, it's definitely had the conversation today with somebody, and it was like, you know, knowing all of your options is important. And so it's not just, you know, 2020 and 2021. It was like, here's a 15-year and a 30-year fix. Which option do you want? Pick A or B. Here you go. Right. And so now it's like pick A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you know, like there's 20 different options that you can provide a home buyer. And so it's just making sure that you're hearing out all of your options. I mean, there's 3-2-1 buy downs, 2-1 buy downs, lock-in shops. I mean, you know, rate buy downs, you know, yada, yada, yada. Considering a 20-year, keeping the same interest rate as a 30-year, but paying less interest over the life of the loan. So it's just really navigating that and making sure that you're aligning yourself with a partner or somebody who can help you navigate that process.
For sure. Andrea, what are you seeing out there with your buyers and sellers?
Buyers and sellers. So sellers' houses, again, are sitting on the market just a little bit longer than they were last year at the same time. We're not seeing as many multiple offer situations as we did, again, that has to do with interest rates. Buyer wise, you know, buyers are cautious. They're a little nervous. They're taking into consideration, you know, what they're paying today for homes versus what they could have paid. On the other hand, though, we are seeing sellers that are offering, they're more open to potentially offering concessions. They're willing to negotiate a little bit more. So that helps on the buyer side. We can, you know, be pretty creative with maybe buying down interest rates or whatnot and get everybody where they want to be.
Well, I think one thing too, and I know Paige and your team, you guys talk with people about this a lot, is like, what's the payment and are you comfortable with the payment? Like the interest rate may not be a percentage that you want to see or hear, right? Like, I don't want to hear 7%. I mean, we're talking about investment properties and, you know, different things over the weekend. Paige and I were, and like, I was like, you know, that's not something I want to pay. But like, if the payment is the payment and it's still within my budget, like, you know, consider making it happen, right? And I think that that's one of the biggest things that we've been talking to with buyers is like, is that payment something you're comfortable with? Are you going to be in the home long enough that there's a potential to refi in 3 years or in 2 years or whatever it may be? And then if we can get credits, like, and bring down that monthly payment, will that work for you? You know, so I mean, again, I think that there's opportunity. You're going to have to pay to live somewhere. And so, you know, if you're going to be here for less than 3 years, it may not make sense to buy, but like, you know, if you're planning on being here for the long haul or planning on owning the property for the long haul, then there's potential that it does make sense.
Yes. I hate the phrase date the rate, marry the house, or whatever that saying is. I hate it because you should assume that you're going to have that rate for 30 years. And if you are comfortable with the payment, then you should move forward. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to have to stretch my budget for the next 2 years. But don't worry, I'm going to refinance later on. No, just assume that that's your payment. And if you're comfortable with that payment, then great. When you refinance, you're only going to be saving money, and it likely would make sense to go to a 20-year.
Well, I mean, and I think part of the thing too is that like, it also costs money to refi. Right. And so that was something that like, when we bought our first house, we bought it and then like 8 months later we refied, but like we brought our payment down significantly. So like an ROI was there. Right. But like, you know, when you're like, oh, do you want to reduce your payment? Then like, we really had to put time and some thought into it of like, well, are we going to be here long enough to actually for this to make sense? I read somewhere that they're starting to see some 40-year mortgages.
I've heard
it's
that.
a thing.
And
it's
so,
been a thing.
But I forget who it was. It was a lender that we would generally not use type thing, right? Like a online type lender that was like advertising it, right? And so what are your thoughts? I mean, I know we've talked about them before, but what are your thoughts on doing a 40-year?
I mean, I already think that people shouldn't do a 30-year mortgage because the reality is that you're just paying more interest than probably principal over the time that you're actually going to own the home. And if you're paying in a 40-year mortgage, think about how long you have to live in that home for it to make sense. And so it's just a waste of, in my opinion, like if you can't qualify for the home on a 30-year, you don't need to buy it on a 40-year mortgage. It's been something that's been offered for a couple, for years at least. Brokers have offered it. And it's now definitely people that we would try to steer clear of, but it just doesn't make sense, right? If you need the house that bad, let's get you into a game plan and a strategy to reduce your debt so you can actually afford the home. Versus trying to continue to stretch out. Pretty soon we're going to be at 60-year mortgages like we are. I mean, you know, like the term now, I think for cars is like 84 months, which is crazy.
Wow.
How's Triton's dinner?
It's great. It's going so good.
For those of you that don't know, that noise that's happening in the background is Paige's dog wolfing down his dinner. But he is an angel. If you don't follow her on Instagram, she's H-Town Mortgage Chick. That's HTOWNMTGCHICK. And she posted a great video of them decorating their home.
Baby.
And Triton just lounging on the couch for, you know, that time period and moving around a little bit because he was frustrated with not getting attention. But he is a sweet boy.
He is, and he's eating his breakfast actually right now because he doesn't like to eat his food unless
someone's
we're home. Yeah.
Noodle will eat her food when I'm home if she's very hungry. Otherwise, she will wait until Ryan comes home. So it's fun when he's out of town because she like just won't eat. So hunger baby. Strike. Yeah, I can't stand her. All right, y'all. That's all we've got for today. I appreciate y'all tuning in. We're going to try to do this more frequently than the cadence that we have been in the past. I think the last time we did one of these podcast episodes was about 3 months ago. So we are going to do better than quarterly and try to see you back here next week at 6 p.m.
Bye, guys.